Hello, my name is Dr. Catherine Dean from the University of East Anglia. This is a very brief introduction to the Universal Research Design that we'll be discussing in more detail at the Applied Research Collaboration Workshop on the 20th of June. At this workshop, we want to dispel the myths and fears surrounding making research open to all underserved communities. The workshop will focus on problem solving around how to make research inclusive in practical terms. This is a quick introduction to the framework we will be using. I was part of the team that created a framework of 7 quality criteria for good patient engagement. Now, a little language translation here. Patient engagement is the international version of patient and public involvement, which is what we usually call PPI, etc. in the UK. However, this framework was created from existing guidelines and it was worked on by a multidisciplinary team, including patient representatives. It was aimed originally at the pharmaceutical world, but the principles have universal application. And we also believe that these principles are applicable to enhancing the diversity of research participants recruited into research studies. So the first quality criteria is shared purpose. This refers to the project's aims and outcomes, and that all stakeholders taking part should agree on before the project is started. So the things you should consider putting in place are things like helping facilitate discussions between all the stakeholders to identify each other's values, expectations and objectives, and review and discuss priorities in the planning of the project. For research participants, things like the information sheet should outline what the purpose of the project is and invite participants to contribute by taking part in the research. The quality criteria 2 is respect and accessibility. And here we're trying to ask people to respect each other and have respectful interactions within the project, and for this to be established for both the partners and the steering group of the project, but also towards participants. We would like there to be an openness to the inclusion of individuals and communities without discrimination. Considerations to ensure good conditions should be implemented within the project right from the beginning. Accessibility to participate in the project might be facilitated by enabling multiple ways to involve stakeholders and participants and make sure that they can all contribute to the project. Quality criteria 3 is the representativeness of stakeholders. This refers to the mix of people you involve both as lay advisors and as research participants. Really, this should reflect the needs of the project and the interests of those who may benefit from the project outputs, so your target population. You should consider diversity in relevant criteria for inclusion, both for the PPI advisors and the participants, so gender, ethnicity, sexual orientation, age, disability, and social circumstances. And with regard to your patient advisors, you should be thinking about their knowledge and skills. So consider what actions have you taken to reach out to and engage with underrepresented communities to ensure that you have diverse and representative selection of stakeholders and of participants in the research. Quality criteria 4, roles and responsibilities. So this refers to the need for clearly agreed and ideally co-created roles and responsibilities. In writing and addressing all aspects of the project's needs, they need to be established upfront and revisited regularly. The research design and information sheet should clearly describe the roles and responsibilities of the participants and ensure they're reasonable and achievable by them. Capacity and capability for engagement. This refers to capacity as having relevant and dedicated resources from all stakeholders. For example, providing a dedicated point of contact by the sponsor and having allocated sufficient time for all stakeholders to allow genuine engagement. And capabilities for stakeholders to enable meaningful engagement, this usually means training. Again, for research participants, how are you educating them about the research process, the interventions they may need to engagement, and the outcome measures they need to complete? Quality criteria 6 is transparency in communication and documentation. And this means an establishment of a communications plan and ongoing project documentation that can be shared with all stakeholders. Communication amongst stakeholders must be open, honest and complete. And in addition, adequate up-to-date documentation must facilitate communication between all the stakeholders throughout the project. Dissemination of the results is critical for all participants, and early, brief summaries of the results can be very helpful for research participants in particular. It keeps faith with the contract implied in the information sheet and allows you to develop trust with those populations. And finally, quality criteria 7, continuity and sustainability. So this refers to the smooth progression of the project as well as efforts to maintain ongoing relationships with stakeholders past the end of the original first project. Consideration should be given to the role of stakeholders beyond that single project, because when you're starting a project, you need to consider including in your project plan actions that are needed to maintain the expected flow of the project from beginning to end and past the end point. So additionally, things that may be important for your research participants are things like dissemination plans, your guidelines, resources, and to let them know any plans that you have for the next steps in your research project. And this will allow you to maintain engagement and trust with those populations. So we have here a number of references. There's the Dean reference around the quality guidance, but also there's references around the King's Fund and disability rights and the Marmot project reviews, looking at the importance of engagement with underserved communities in research. And here's a variety of useful links that provide you with tools and ideas about how best to engage with underserved communities and ensure that their voices are heard in the design and prioritization of research, as well as their engagement and contribution to research. Thank you very much for your time.